Hey everyone, so thank you so much for joining on time. We're going to give just a couple of more minutes to allow a few others to hop in and for Dana to join in as well. So feel free to get settled, maybe grab a drink. Oh, by the way, while we are still waiting for Dana, I'd like to just share our next two AP call guests. Next week, we'll have Nate Ginsberg, the CEO of Centurica. And then come the 30th, it'll be Oliver. And then for July 7th, it'll be Kevin Cooper. I know you might have heard of Kevin. He's one of the Acquirers alum. So if you do have any questions to them, feel free to send it to me directly so we can actually shape the next session based to your questions or based to your current challenges. All right. Thanks. Hi, Dana.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
And Dana, if you do have a presentation, I'd love to help you out and sharing the screen. You can send it to me via Slack or
Okay.
through email.
I think I can share it with you. Give me just a second.
All right, I have the file here. Let me share my screen.
Okay. Can everybody see it?
Yes, I can see.
Anyone there? There you go.
Yep.
Okay. What we put together was we've done a number of presentations on financial topics, and this will touch on those, but it's more of a presentation on what has happened, what we've seen happen in companies that people just bought. And there are situations that essentially I've highlighted. I've changed a little bit on a couple of them, but these are all real situations that were challenges and big challenges, and you'll see why. Um, you'll get why real quick. Every one of them is real. The key to success really is it's your ability to adapt. You're going in with a plan. You're the new owner, and you're in a strange environment in a lot of ways. But what you're going to do is you're going to have to adapt. And I haven't seen anybody buy one of these things that didn't adapt. And the better you can adapt, the more successful you're going to be. There's in a big firm where a lot of you guys come from, you can have toxic culture in a section, in a unit. But in a small firm, nobody can get away from it. And so it's you're going to be the person to change it, and nobody else. And sometimes people don't even realize they're in a toxic culture. They don't understand its impact on them. So it's going to take some work on your part if you come into something like that, and you'll see some evidence of toxic culture in some of these examples. If it's infected, if it's sick, you're the person, and so it can kill your company, and you own it. So you're going to need to do something about it. And I would just tell you that err on the side of making a quick decision. It's always better. You can always, if you make a quick decision and you make the wrong one, you can always change it. But if you don't make a quick decision and you allow a toxic culture, or you allow a real bad situation to linger, it's going to have a greater and greater impact on your company. And there are a couple of individuals that I've actually said, you can choose your poison. You can die quickly or you can die slowly. And the chances of dying quickly are pretty slim, because you can always, if you make a bad decision, you can always change it. Let's go to the next slide, Andy. Next one after that. Next one after this here. Okay, good. So here's the first situation. I'm going to call it taking advantage of the new guy. So you closed on your acquisition 3 days ago. You're feeling pretty good. The team is adjusting. You're spending time with the seller to kind of learn about the business, about the team. You've interviewed all the leadership team. All the candidates are there. You've identified them in talking with the seller, and you want to talk to them. So you've interviewed them basically on the first day. You've met them. The seller is very high on them, and yes, effectively he's the one that's employed them for quite some time. After lunch on the third day, he comes to you and he says this: "Oh, wait a minute, I forgot to tell you there's some inventory in the back of the warehouse and it's not yours, but it's essential to running the business. It cost $150,000 and I'll sell it to you for $100." That really happened. Okay. So what do you do? What would you do? Anybody? Anybody there? Anybody want to take a shot at it?
I don't know. It's Blake here. I call my attorney. I don't know. I call you.
Well, call your attorney is a darn good idea. That's one.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's a good solution. What's a bad idea? Sit there and debate with him, maybe? What do you think? Any other ideas?
This is Andrew. I think based on our conversations, Dana, this is one of those things that you have to pre-plan for and I guess prepare in advance, make sure it's in writing so that once again, you can go to your attorney and your team and go, hey, it said all the business and includes that back stock stuff that you were trying to hide.
Yep. You dig out your documents and take a look. When you place your call to the attorney and leave him a message or her a message, you're looking at your documents. How does that deal with the inventory, right? So how's it make you feel when he says that in front of your most senior employees? He's told you they can run the company for you, and he says that right in front of everybody. And he gets a little horsey with you.
I view this as a major problem. I mean, this is like the seller showing bad faith in the deal, like trying to bamboozle you after the fact. So this is a major problem in my mind. You certainly don't want to pay $100,000 for something, and you don't want to set the precedent that they can take advantage of the new guy by introducing more of these things in the future. So you definitely don't have this conversation in front of the rest of the team, but you pull that seller aside and basically say, this is not okay. And, we have to, this should have been included in the purchase. And if you're not going to include it as part of the purchase, then there'll be, legal ramifications of this.
I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now, let me give you a few more extenuating circumstances. The business is highly technical, and it's his license that you're using. You're required to operate with a license, and it's his license. That kind of gives him a little bit of a strong arm there, doesn't it? It can be intimidating. Let me put it that way. What do I do now? The first answer was a good one. Call the attorney, review the documents, tell him that isn't okay, and I'd probably be tempted to invite him to leave for the day Might want to ask one of the senior execs there if he knows anything about that. Any of those things make any sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I would also add in, I would immediately, in addition to that, since I'm going to talk to my attorney anyway, I would immediately find out, I would ask him directly if there's anything else that he hasn't told me about. At that point, obviously, everything should have been disclosed and everything should have been in writing as far as what conveys with the sale. But
Yeah.
I would definitely find out, hey, are there any other skeletons before you come in, the next day and find out there's something else.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's a great one. Thank you. Great.
I'm
Yes.
going to, I'm like towards the end of my acquisition right now. And one of the things like I forgot to add was probably adding the seller's cell phone, because many like of the vendors or patients, contact the seller. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I should add it as well. That's just something extra, but add like on the purchase agreement that if there is anything else that's crucial that's not added to the list of assets, if I don't know, if it's like crucial to the business, even if it's missed or by me or by the seller, that it's ours anyways. Is there a way we could do that prior to closing?
I like the idea. I hadn't thought of that, but I do like the idea. And I think we'll, in one of the examples up ahead, we'll get into that discussion a little bit, David. That's that is a great idea. One of this this particular individual was a real horse's patoot, as they might say in Texas. He really was a jerk in many ways, and frankly, the cell phone was one of the ways he was a jerk, because all of you question, one of the first things you question is, how important is this seller to the business and to the relationships with key customers? And this guy had them all on his cell phone. They called him. And that wasn't fully disclosed, or if it was, it may have been underplayed a little bit, because that was unexpected. And he used control of those communications against the buyer. So just word to the wise. And David, your observation is really a good one. I would talk to, while you're negotiating documents, I would talk to your lawyer about including that in the documents. But I think it would be probably important. It would be more important if the seller controls those relationships. If there are others, if he's got a sales group or something along those lines, some other people that are staying with the company that have lots of contact with the customer, then I don't think it would be quite as important. But in this case, it was very important. So when he says this to you, one of his long-term employees walks out of the room, and the other joins in with him to explain, oh, hey, wait a second, do you mean all that stuff in the back corner of the warehouse? It's kind of like 2-on-1 now. So it was, what do you do? And I think the first answer, not sure, was that Eric who gave us the first answer of, no, it was Frank, I think, wasn't it? To give to call the attorney.
Blake.
I think you ask him to go home, and we'll talk tomorrow. I'm going to call my lawyer. That's a good start. The other thing that I haven't told you is that you owe him $300,000 to $400,000, and there's some information in all those documents that require him to deal with you in good faith. So it's not like you're helpless. You've got some leverage, but you got to realize it, and you got to be able to stand up to them. Any other questions on that? Pretty nasty situation, wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay.
Hopefully that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't happen to anybody.
Yeah.
But sometimes you never know. Let's go on to
Never know.
situation. Let's go on to situation number 2. What else don't I know? Okay. So you close on Thursday, you meet the seller on Friday, and you join the entire company for their 7 a.m. meeting on Monday morning. And they're going to introduce you. The seller's going to introduce you to the team. The meeting's routine. On Monday morning, they meet, they kind of talk about what everybody's going to do, what jobs they're going to be on, what the week looks like up ahead. They will have those meetings every morning, but Monday morning is an important one because you get a view into the week, right? So there's a problem. The seller and a division chief, there's 2 of those division chiefs. One of the division chiefs doesn't show up, and neither does the seller. And the guys haven't been told you're the new owner. That's interesting. So you introduce yourself. I just bought the company. So-and-so will be here. The daily schedule is set. You just participate. They're very courteous. They look at you with a little bit of surprise in their faces. They talk about what they've got to talk about. There's an operations person there, and he was really sold to you as the guy that's practically able to run the whole company. That he knows everything. That's the way he was sold to you. And a new hire joins to talk about their roles, interests, suggestions. They share with you several outstanding ideas that the seller would not let them execute on. These are ideas that will grow revenue, grow margins, entirely logical to have a meaningful conversation with them. You're the new owner. Why not? That's the kind of thing you want them to bring to you, right? So the new hire is clearly the one to run the company. It comes out in spades. This guy knows what he's doing. He's run big and small teams for major companies. And about an hour and a half after the meeting ends, the owner shows up. And you've been with these two folks for 45 minutes to an hour. And the owner shows up and he asks to meet to explain his pricing approach with you. And you realize he won't talk about pricing with anybody. He's a bit paranoid that his employees would know how to price the projects. And it's not all that technical. You can figure it out pretty easy. They already know, and you know they know from your meeting with them. So when you meet with the owner, he talks about everything but pricing. No matter what you do, he's all over the map, and he won't talk about pricing. What are you thinking about, and what do you do? Any ideas?
I'd ask him for documentation on pricing, like something that spells it out. I would want, at this point, I would want to probably start documenting everything with this guy, because you might have to exercise your good faith clause in the contract at the rate things are going. So I think I would just very clearly, definitively ask for some kind of document that governs pricing for the business or how he's been pricing.
Okay, and just to be clear, this is a different player than the one in situation number 1. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is different. Okay.
Okay, all right. I was like, man,
I'm trying not to pile it on top of you too much. But number one is going to show up again. Trust me. Okay. But that's a great point, Frank. A great point. So, first of all, you got to be confused. I mean, this guy wants to talk about pricing. He's paranoid. I get that. I don't know why, but he is. The two guys that I just talked to, very capable, very enthusiastic about a new owner. They want to work for a new owner, and they tell you that. And so you're there with them. The owner walks in hour and a half late. It's really, what a mess. What is going on here? It's confusing, number one, right? When you interview those two guys, you just know intuitively, you've got a clear path to your leadership team. I mean, these guys know this company. The operations guy knows the company. And the second guy can run that company and 5 others at the same time. You know it. He is not a BSer. He is really smart. And he's got great experience with companies that have hired this company and others like it. So you are feeling pretty good. So one of the questions you might have is, where's the division chief who didn't show up? Right? And you find out that he doesn't talk to anybody but the owner. Why not?
Yeah, I would think you'd be really quickly trying to figure out how this operations person, if he can move up to be division chief, and how you can start training the new hire to kind of take over as general manager. It sounds like you probably need to get rid of the seller, and maybe the division chief needs to hear a come to Jesus moment real soon, that he needs to kind of, private conversation, obviously, that, either you're here with us or you're not. But I think maybe if the seller is not being upfront about this pricing, he's probably got to get out of there pretty quick.
It's a great point. It's a great point, Blake. But again, you haven't even been there a full day yet. And
yeah, I know that. I'm just saying,
like, holy smokes, what's going on?
That's probably what you're thinking, though. I wouldn't know the technical or what was in there, but you would have to expect it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely thinking along the right lines, but it's coming fast and furious right now.
For sure.
Yeah, I think the primary problem here is the seller wasn't there for the transition meeting. That's like the most important meeting where the power transitions from the seller to you. And the existing employees need to see that, peaceful transfer of power. And until they do, you really they don't know that you're the new owner. You're just some guy claiming to be the new owner. And you have no authority, no goodwill. You're just a ghost in this meeting. And until you have that transition meeting with the employees and the new owner and the owner, where he says, here's the new owner, nothing else really matters. So I feel like by the seller not showing up to that meeting, he's undermining everything you're trying to do. And you have to have a meeting right away with that seller to set expectations going forward so that you can take control of the company. Making leadership changes is secondary. What's most important is getting control of that company and getting the information from the owner that you need right away so that you can not be handcuffed any more than you have to be.
I agree. Go ahead.
I have a question. Would you have, from my perspective, if I were that new owner stepping into that role and the seller didn't show up to that meeting, I'm not sure if I would continue with that meeting, introducing myself as the new owner.
Good point.
Try to meet with the seller to find out when can we reschedule that introduction before I tell everyone that I'm the new owner, because we need that stamp of approval from the seller to help to facilitate the transition, just as Eric had mentioned.
Yeah, so Conrad, that's a good point. It's an excellent point. That's not how it went down, but that's a good point. And remember what I said at the beginning about adaptability? That is you walk in and there's a bunch of strange guys there. They look at you, you're strange to them. And hello. Oh, and you're waiting for, I mean, you're on time. You're waiting. I'm waiting for Mr. Seller. You know, you're making a great point. So, okay, so let me take you to the next point the next crazy thing that happens. No, don't go to the next one. I don't want anybody to see these yet. Thanks, Andy. So at the end of the pricing meeting, remember you met with the group. They all went to work. Then you met with the two guys that you think are going to be your leadership team. Then you end up with them when the seller comes in. A few minutes after he comes in, you meet with the seller. He's going to tell you all about pricing. He doesn't tell you about pricing. He can't keep his head straight on pricing. That was the big mystery he was holding out, right? So at the end of that meeting, you're wondering what in the heck is going on here. Here's what the seller says to close the meeting. You're not going to believe this, but he did say it, and I heard it. You got to fire the new guy. He's no good. That's what the seller says to you. You got to fire him. I want him fired.
Yeah, I think that's a thank you for the suggestion. let's get on with the knowledge transfer.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody thinks he should be fired?
No, not yet. Yeah, knowledge transfer first.
Anybody? Yeah, this actually happened. I didn't make any of this stuff up. Okay. And I'm not trying to talk you out of buying a company. I'm trying to make you adaptable, or I'm trying to get you ready to be adaptable if you run into something crazy like this stuff. Okay. So he actually said that threw an absolute pitched a fit and then left. So at the next morning meeting, and I was not there at the next morning meeting, but everybody's there, including the new guy, including the buyer, and the seller screams and yells straight at the new guy in front of everybody and tells him he's no good, he's got to leave, he's fired, and keeps screaming until he leaves. What do you do then? What would you do?
I think I would definitely try to talk to the seller in private and figure out what's going on. What's like maybe there's something that we don't know about. You know what I mean? Like our first impression of the new guy was great, but I would figure out what's fueling the deal with the seller, and then but also just let him know that you're not comfortable or you're not okay with that kind of stuff in front of the staff, in front of the employees. That should definitely be a one-on-one conversation, whatever his issues are with the new guy.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, well said. Anybody else have any ideas? Okay, not hearing any. Let's move on. Situation number 3. All right, I'm going to call this. Oh, wait a second, I forgot to tell you. So you just bought a great company. It's got good people. You know it. You need to figure out what seats they should be in. You're not quite sure that they're in the right seats. Probably a bunch of them are, but they seem to be very, very open to the transition. And the seller has spoken very highly. This is a totally different seller, a third seller. So while the seller has been, you've got written evidence that he can be a real jerk, but he does seem to have a compass, and it's a weird compass, but he's got one. And on day one, while you're interviewing members of the team, you've been introduced. The team is welcomes you with open arms. I mean, they're really glad you're there, and they show it. They're not disrespectful to the seller at all. They're very respectful to him. And he heads out. He's got some stuff to do. He goes out to do it. But before he does, he takes you aside and he says, "I forgot to tell you something." And you look at him and you say, "Well, what's that?" And he tells you that your most skilled and valuable employee, who does the most complex jobs, is known. He's known in the company to be aloof. He's difficult. He can be very demanding and kind of a problem at times, but he's basically a great worker. But unfortunately, he's got a criminal record that gives you some really incredible concerns all of a sudden. And he's your most important guy. He served 15 years in prison, and you think he could be a huge liability to the company. What do you do? You've got guys that go into businesses, and you've got guys that go into homes. What do you think? Andy, you can advance that up to situation number 3 if you like.
I mean, I think that's tough if they're the most valuable employee. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think I would try to figure out, what skills they have,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, reach out to my attorney to see if, what are the risks, and honestly, like if the risks are very high, I think it also depends on the industry, but if the risks are very high, start looking at different, either hire internally or hire externally. I don't know.
Okay, I can tell you that he is head and shoulders above anybody, not only in the company, but there are probably only 2 or 3 people in the region that can do what this guy can do. And so all the major firms in the region that need services on very complex projects, that's a big source of your revenue. That they will call you because you've got this guy. And they know between the seller and this guy, and the seller counts on this fellow, that they can do incredibly complex jobs and do them right the first time and do them efficiently. So he really is valuable. He's been out of prison for a long time, and he has not. There's no recidivism. He is not reoffended. But you're still, you're new to the company. You're like, what do I do with this?
Yeah. So if you will, Dana, from my perspective, I would speak with the seller to try to get a better understanding. He hired this person. He has been working with them for a while. How has he tried to mitigate some of the potential risk that is inherent in hiring this person with this particular background?
Conrad, that is absolutely dead solid perfect. I'll just cut to the chase here. The business has both residential and very large commercial jobs. The immediate decision was you don't send him into somebody's house.
Exactly.
Okay. The first decision point was, do I keep him or do I let him go? And we did talk to the seller, and the seller said, he has not reoffended. He is difficult, but he is not reoffended. And by the way, he is the most loyal employee I've got for for a couple of reasons, really. One is I've given him a job and I pay him well. But he is so afraid if he gets fired, he will not be able to be hired because of his record. So the combination of that, and the seller did treat him respectfully. So there was a lot of loyalty there. And what the seller advised, very wisely advised the buyer to talk to him, and make a decision. But the seller put him on these big industrial jobs, which he always had them and could always use him for those things, kept him busy, put him on big industrial jobs where he was in and among big crews of men, basically, where he would the chances of him reoffending in the way that he offended at the beginning and sent to prison for would not happen. And that was the decision that was made, and he's continued. He's done a great job, and is a good employee and is loyal. So it's when the buyer asked me, what would you do? And we sort of went through the options together. The first thing was loyalty, and the second thing was he had many years. I think it was actually 10 to 15 years of staying clean, not reoffending, not getting in any trouble at all. And I'm one of those guys that believes in second chances. I wouldn't put him in a place where he would be tempted, but or where it would be more likely. But where he was working was perfect for him. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's go to situation number 4. How much time do we have here? I think we've got let's see. This is the one, let's go meet some of the customers. This actually goes back to situation number 1, and I think I may, hang with me just a second. In view of the time limit, I've got 2 or 3 others here. Let's see. Let's go to situation number 6, or number 5, excuse me, Andy. All right, this one is, this goes back to situation number 1, same company. So you've owned the company for several months. You kind of worked your way through the initial issues that we talked about earlier. And it's really been a rocky road, okay? The employee, there are 2 key employees. Both of them are extremely difficult. One is the office manager, who was the personal assistant to the former owner. She is still there, and is a real pain in the neck. And there's another one that's a high value tech, was originally sold as the one whose license you could use, and he agreed to it, but he would not work to do the things that you needed the licensed. He would not do any bidding, which he was really the only one capable of bidding after the seller left. So the office manager wouldn't cooperate with any process change you try to make. Your objective when you bought the company is to try to scale the company, set it up, get it ready to scale. And the office manager was absolutely a stonewall. The high value tech complains constantly, and is now infecting other techs. They're all voting. They actually voted at one point among themselves to not go to work unless they all got another raise, which you had already given them one. And they were paid poorly when you got there. So the so you're in a kind of a miserable situation. You got two key people that are pretty miserable, and they're making your life miserable. What do you do? One of them's your license. What you do?
Definitely one-on-one meetings, I think, with each of those people, and explain to them, you know, how things are going to go. I think I would be very, very blunt, and very direct, with them about the challenges that you're having, and especially, showstoppers, things that are just absolutely not acceptable. Um, I would be very direct about that and about consequences. The license thing is really difficult, but I would be hopefully have some kind of backup plan for the
Yeah,
licensure, the license piece, or if not, I would start looking for one, because it sounds like this person might not make it the distance, and the ops manager might not either. So I would be thinking about that and what my backup plan is.
yeah, good, good. Anybody else have any ideas? Great suggestions, Frank.
So for me, I would actually have meetings with. I don't know how big the organization is. How big it is? Is it then?
Probably 12, 13 employees.
Yeah, I'll actually have one-on-one meetings with everyone, so that these two don't feel completely singled out, although they are singled out, but still to set the tone across the organization. I will have one-on-one meetings with everyone. And then during that one-on-one meetings, within that, looking, is there someone within the organization that could replace this operations manager? Should that come need really, it becomes a need. So
Yeah.
that's what I would do initially. And then in regards to the license, as mentioned before, I mean, we should have a backup plan for license. But if you don't know, now's a very good time to actually get that backup plan in place.
Yeah, you're spot on. In this particular case, there's a few things I haven't told you. The office manager has stayed very close to the seller. You're still counting on the seller to do bidding for the company, because the guy with the employee with the license won't do bidding, and the bidding he did do was late. It was poorly done. You lost some money on a job or two. He just didn't want to do it. And so it was kind of a pain in the neck. And you've had a number of one-on-ones with each one of them, and some of the techs that seem to be getting infected with lousy attitudes. The other thing is that the office manager, you're looking to understand processes that they've used. And there's lots of different jurisdictions around there. And she claims she's the only person who knows how to pull work permits in all the jurisdictions around that area. And so she's invaluable. She's kind of set herself up to be invaluable, and literally won't tell anybody how to do it, and won't tell you. You're the owner, and she won't tell you. The other thing is she throws tantrums in the middle of the office. I mean, literally throws tantrums, screaming and yelling, sowing dissension among the techs. She's argumentative and basically every day. You hate going into work. You just bought this company and you hate it already. It's kind of not very good. What do you do? You want me to tell you?
Sure.
You fire that office manager faster than you can, than you can do. You fire her on her day off. Get rid of her. That's the first thing. You got cancer and it's growing. That's the first thing you do. If you'll excuse my, one thing I learned a long time ago is when you've got a situation like that, one of the best things you can do is have a good public hanging, because everybody pays attention. Everybody. You don't have to be mean or nasty. You just release her. She's gone. And it doesn't make any difference whether it's her or him or whoever it is. If they've got a terrible attitude and they won't change it, don't put up with it and make your decision quick. In this case, you had a guy that was not as poisonous as she was. He was a performance issue. She was an attitude issue and a performance issue. So getting rid of her made a whale of a lot of sense. The issue or the problem was that she wasn't fired quickly enough. Does that make sense?
How did you mitigate or SME knowledge of the permits?
Well, first of all, pulling permits is not all that difficult. Okay. You can figure out how to do that simply by contacting the office where you want to pull the permit. And everyone that I've seen, at least in the area where I live, which is North Texas, you can call the city and ask them for the office that controls permits for plumbing or electricians or whatever. And they've got a pre-prepared printout that they will send you by email. It'll tell you exactly how to do it. But she had the whole team buffaloed. Hold on just a second here.
I'm gone.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that is the issue with these guys, or with this. Give me a second, please. I think we've got about 3 minutes left. I apologize for being late, guys. With this particular one, this company was run by a tyrant, and he literally picked on everybody, including the new owner. And what I would tell you is that I guess my key takeaways here, and I've got several other examples. We can go over them if you've got questions or something. But no matter when you're in negotiations or when you're developing a relationship with the sellers, no matter how nice they are, no matter how friendly they are, or how eager they are to get the transaction done, that may be great and that may be exactly who they are, but always think about them as being very tough, hard-nosed, and likely flawed individuals. Hopefully you won't, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Hope for the best, expect the worst. But I've seen a lot of bad habits and rude behavior. They can be tough negotiators. That's okay. But and what I've seen is a lot of them will have a few cards up their sleeves and you won't expect it. Okay. Especially because a lot of you guys are coming from, high-tech companies, highly educated, and the guys you're dealing with are street fighters. Okay. Most of them are street fighters. Think about it that way. If you've got a cancer in the company, don't let it grow. Get rid of it. You will make an impression with your new team. Some of them, probably a lot of them, will appreciate it. If you cut somebody out of the team that needs to be cut out of the team, they will thank you. When this buyer fired that office manager, he had a bunch of people thank him. But it took months, and it shouldn't have taken months. It should have happened very quickly. You don't want to die a slow death. So also get your own team, and don't be shy about getting your own team. When you get in there, make your decisions quickly. You know, you're going to interview folks. You're going to find a lot of people. They want to go to work for you, maybe all of them. And if so, you're in luck. That's great. But if you've got folks that are challenging and not very valuable, or they're simply blocking your way, don't wait. Life's too short. Don't wait. The other thing I would tell you, that, and this kind of goes back to some of our financial conversations, bankers and CPAs, bookkeepers, they need to be advisors as well as people who are providing numbers, as well as people who are providing debt or financial statements. The money in the financial reports, they're fungible, okay? The real value that they bring is in the advice they give you. So think about it that way. There's cost and there's value, and you really want to focus on where's the value that I get out of this relationship with them. Does that help? Or did I bore you to tears?
No, thanks, Dana. It was good. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, if you have any feedback, positive or negative, let me know, okay? And again, my apologies to all for being late to this.
Thanks for the information, Dana.
Okay,
Appreciate
bye-bye.
it.